The 2025 Hall of Fame ballot results are set to be released 1 month from now, and I want to look at some of the players up for election to see whether I believe they ought to be inducted into Cooperstown or not. This will be the first of multiple videos set to release up until the results are announced on January 21st, so stay tuned for other players. This video will be centered around former second baseman Chase Utley. He's a player most people are familiar with, for one reason or another, but just how good was Utley, and should he be elected into the Baseball Hall of Fame? Chase Utley was a second baseman who played in Major League Baseball for 16 seasons from 2003 to 2018. He spent the first 12.5 years of his career with the Philadelphia Phillies and the final 4.5 with the Los Angeles Dodgers. In his career, Utley played in over 1,900 games and came to the plate nearly 7,900 times. He slashed .275 with a .358 on base and .465 slugging for an .823 OPS and 117 adjusted OPS. He has nearly 1,900 hits, which includes over 700 extra base hits, over 1,100 runs scored, over 1,000 RBIs, collected nearly 3,200 total bases, reached base over 2,800 times, and earned 64.5 WAR. He's a 6-time All-Star, 4-time Silver Slugger Award winner, and received MVP votes in 5 seasons. Utley was one of the great slugging second basemen during his time in baseball who also played great defense. You don't hit that many extra base hits or earn that high of a WAR mark by accident. Although, how good was he when compared to the competition? Across Utley's career from 2003 to 2018, he ranks inside the top 10 in WAR, top 20 in runs, extra base hits, times on base, RBIs, and hits, and top 25 in total bases. Among 31 players with at least 7,000 plate appearances during this stretch, Utley has the 17th highest OPS and 18th highest adjusted OPS. If we look at just second baseman during this time, Utley is second in every category with 2 exceptions. He's 3rd in RBIs and 4th in hits. Of the 17 second basemen with at least 5,000 plate appearances, he has the 2nd highest OPS and 3rd highest adjusted OPS. Those are a lot of impressive rankings, but then again, that's across his entire career. How good was Chase Utley during his prime? Across a 10-season span from 2005 to 2014, Utley ranks 2nd in WAR, inside the top 10 in runs, top 15 in times on base, extra base hits, and total bases, and top 20 in hits and RBIs. Among 50 players with at least 5,000 plate appearances here, Utley has the 11th highest OPS and 14th highest adjusted OPS. For players at the same position, he's either 1st or 2nd in these mentioned counting stats. Here's the full breakdown, where he's 1st in runs and WAR, and 2nd in everything else. If you're wondering, he's 2nd to only Robinson Cano. Of the 23 second basemen with at least 3,000 plate appearances in this decade-long period, Utley has the highest OPS and 2nd highest adjusted OPS. We can see many high rankings in a lot of areas, but that's all in comparison to those during his era. How well does Chase Utley hold up when compared to players all time? Throughout the history of Major League Baseball, Utley is inside the top 100 in WAR, top 180 in extra base hits, top 280 in total bases, runs scored, times on base, and RBIs, and top 360 in hits. Among 365 players with at least 7,500 plate appearances, he has the 135th highest OPS and 197th highest adjusted OPS. For second baseman all time, Utley is inside the top 15 in extra base hits and WAR, top 20 in RBIs and total bases, top 30 in times on base and runs, and top 40 in hits. Among the 127 second basemen with at least 5,000 plate appearances, he has the 11th highest OPS and 17th highest adjusted OPS. I've yet to mention a single stat regarding his defense, so for a very quick summary, Chase Utley is inside the top 100 for highest D-WAR of all time and 10th highest for second baseman. During his career, he's again in the top 10 of all players and has the 3rd highest for second baseman. So, based on everything said so far, throughout his entire career, Utley was around the top 20 hitter. Given his great defense, I don't think anybody would disagree he was somewhere in the top 10 to 15 range of all players. I mean, hey, He does have the 6th highest WAR during his time in baseball. One could certainly argue inside the top 10 of all players. For those at the same position, he's second in most statistics, so ergo, I'd tag him as the second best second baseman during his time. When he was at his best, he was around a top 15 hitter. Once again, his WAR is incredible, as he has the 2nd highest WAR of all players. One could definitely say he was one of the top 5 or better players. However, I'd put him as a borderline top 10. Same situation as before with second baseman. He's a close second to Robinson Cano. For players all time, he does lack in counting stats, being outside the top 250 in everything but WAR. Similar story for second baseman. His counting stats aren't impressive, but strong analytical marks pencil him around the top 15 second baseman all time. Is that enough though? Was Chase Utley being a top 15-ish player during his career and top 15-ish second baseman all time justify a Hall of Fame induction? It's closer than people initially think, so what if we compare him to other Hall of Fame second basemen? There are 20 second basemen in the Hall of Fame. Utley's 823 OPS would rank 8th highest, his 117 adjusted OPS the 10th highest, and his 64.5 WAR also the 10th highest. Most of his counting stats would rank outside the top 10, even top 15, but his 17.3 D WAR would be the 5th highest. Sum that all up together, and you have a player that, if he were to get elected into the Hall next month, would be a borderline top 10 second baseman in Cooperstown. That would depend on how much you value counting stats. Given everything I've said, I'm going to say no. He shouldn't be voted in, and there's 2 reasons why. First, and many might disagree with this, but I don't like how all of Utley's production came in a short amount of time. He might have been incredible during his prime years from 2005 to 2014, but outside that, he did very little. In nearly 6,000 plate appearances during that 10-year span, Utley slashed .288 with a .374 on base and .492 slugging for an .866 OPS, 127 adjusted OPS, and earned 59.7 WAR. In 2,000 plate appearances outside that span, .238 with a .310 on base and .387 slugging for a .697 OPS, 86 adjusted OPS, and earned 4.9 WAR. His success is very top-heavy, and it's really hard to get into the Hall of Fame solely based on a player's production confined to a period that short. It has happened before. For instance, Sandy Koufax only played 10 seasons in the big leagues, but he was just so good during his peak, it warranted a Hall of Fame induction. Chase Utley's peak was fantastic, but is it good enough for the Hall of Fame? I don't think so. In the few cases of a player getting elected to the Hall of Fame based on a short career but unbelievable peak, you have to be light years better than your competition. Sandy Koufax was the greatest pitcher on the planet for several years. Chase Utley wasn't even the best second baseman. Secondly, there are multiple other second basemen not in the Hall of Fame that I believe are better than Utley, and he's not up to those player standards. Such second basemen include Lou Whitaker, Bobby Grich, Jeff Kent, Robinson Cano, and Jose Altuve. Even Dustin Pedroia is pretty comparable to Chase Utley, but that's beside the point. When I compared Utley earlier to Hall of Fame second basemen, those 6 were excluded from that conversation, and, at least the first 5, were better players with significantly more Hall of Fame consideration. Long story short, while those other second basemen don't take anything away from Utley per se, they're players I do believe should be in, and Utley is simply not on the same level. Chase Utley had a long, accomplished career in Major League Baseball, who was at one point one of the top players out there, but I don't believe he ought to be elected into the Baseball Hall of Fame.